Maybe then you see pathology and all these things. Oh, you say, what's going on here? This is serious. The deen is more serious than that. This is your deen, where your akhirah depends on. People nowadays, they spend all the money to teach their children mathematics and physics, which is great. I have no problem. I think that's good. But when it comes to the deen, they're not willing to allocate anything. No resource and no time. They expect to come by diffusion. No, Al-Khidr is only few people like Al-Khidr alayhi salam. There has to be seriousness. Seriousness means what? There has to be devotion and commitment to the ulum that the Shaykh puts. Not simply you take it, what happens? This is what happens, this patterns. What happened with your secular studies? You see what happens there, right? وَقَدِّمِ الْجَدِّ. Seriousness, devotion and commitment are the signs of seriousness. Devotion and commitment. And you read and you write again, remember? Just like you do with your secular. I just take it because people have more understanding on the secular. When I was doing my master's thesis, I remember, you read it and then you rewrite it again and you write it again and again. You're spending months. You say, I need 4 or 5 months, I don't need to see anybody. And then on the PhDs and all that. So if that's for masters and PhD that we had to do, which was, anybody can do them. How about the ilm of قال الله وقال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم? How about the ilm that takes you to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? It doesn't take you to a degree that a university grants and offers and confers. There has to be seriousness. And part of people's taking this deen like this is there's no seriousness in approaching the deen. Whatever. Anyway, وَانْهَضْ عِنْدَ خِدْمَتِهِ. Leap to his service. That's difficult. Why? Because we don't like service. Remember? Indignity is sort of less. I always want to be, I am higher, I am more. What do you mean service? And I remember one of our shuyukh, rahmatullahi ta'ala alayhim, after I finished Al-Azhar and all these things, and I thought I was, big shot or something. Foolish and young, stupid of thinking that. Came to one of the shuyukh, rahmatullahi alayhi. I figured now he's going to, put me next to him. At least in the first row. He has dhikr every Thursday or so. And most of the villagers come, from the villages. People of the city are fancy schmancy. They think they don't, mean dhikr. This is for the faqirs. So who is the faqir? The faqir in the city and the people who come from the villages. And at that time, the streets were not really paved, so it was all what? Dirt roads. And guess what happens when it rains? Mud over there. There's nothing like here, right? People who are in the UK, you should go see there sometime. That was winter time. Rain, which means mud. Difficult. So people get to the masjid, they sit, and all of them are from the villages, with all the respect, no disrespect, but no fancy jobs, and no fancy clothing, and maybe not the best of, whatever. Maybe the best of souls. But the clothing were not there, the things were not there. So I came, I said, Shaykh, I'm here dedicated, inshallah, for a few months at the service. So, I figured he's going to ask me, you teach him Tawheed, teach him Hadith, teach him. I was appointed to clean the shoes from the mud and to put the shoes on the rack and make sure if there are any socks out of the shoes to be in their proper shoes. Not even make tea. There are people who make tea that's higher degree. No, seriously. There are two teams, the cooking teams and the outside team. They kept me outside. So I had to clean the mud off the shoes of the villagers who didn't even know how to recite the Fatiha correctly. It's difficult. And every first few days I come and I'm sitting, every opportunity I get, I'm sitting next to him, I'm trying to show him that I'm really, knowledgeable and all this, I know what he's talking about, and he's just totally ignoring me. Totally, nothing. Like I don't even exist. Shoes, things, shoes on the rack, because people, they just come and they throw their shoes everywhere. And those socks, I can't tell you about them. I wish and I pray that you'll never see them in your life. I personally have seen socks I've never ever seen before or after, for that. So far. I mean, I have seen holes in socks, but so many holes in some of them I have not seen. Those were fuqara, poor people, who came for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They may not have been the most sophisticated in the dunyawi knowledge. They may not have been the most sophisticated in the religious, deeni knowledge, but they had a heart clear for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it was the most greatest honor that has been bestowed on me in servicing their shoes. Khidmah. Khidmah. It's very hard. Indignities are difficult. But, like Ibn Ata'Allah rahimahullah says, فَمَا نَبَتَ, things that come without idfun nafsaka fi ard al-khumul, you have to bury yourself. Whatever grows without being buried has no roots. Like the seed, you throw it deep in the soil and you bury it under the soil, under the sand. You gotta be under the sand, and then you put some water, you make sure you give it life. Then it grows. I'm telling you this so I can make an example, not for any other reasons. وَانْهَضْ عِنْدَ خِدْمَتِهِ. Khidmah. Khidmah is important. Khidmah is the key. But with the khidmah, first you resist, then you learn. And then these fuqara, these poor people who you thought, he makes dua for you. Maybe because of his dua, Allah forgives you. That's what the shuyukh were aiming. Maybe because of them you think they're jahils, but maybe because of them they say something that teaches you. You learn from them. You learn from them many things. Generosity, kind-heartedness. You learn no hatred in your heart. You learn how to be equal to everybody. No arrogance. The same. يقول ضرار رضي الله تعالى عنه, when he was describing Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Mawla al-Muwahhideen, karram Allah ta'ala wajhahu al-Kareem, he was describing him. When Muawiyah told him, describe me Ali, how was Ali? He described him long, some other time we'll talk about this. But one sentence that ought to call our attention. What? He told him, وَكَانَ فِينَا كَأَحَدِنَا. He was amongst us, Dirar is saying about Ali ibn Abi Talib, he was amongst us like one of us. Yani if you did not know who Ali was, you wouldn't be able to tell who the leader, the Khalifa was, and who the people were, who the Shaykh was and who the student was. You wouldn't be able to tell, كَانَ فِينَا كَأَحَدِنَا. He was amongst us just like any other person like us. We walk, he walks with us. We talk, he talks with us.